Now let's just establish something really quick. Dante is one of the coolest and my personal favorite characters in video game history. The same cannot be said for the recently rebooted DMC version of Dante, which was provided by Ninja Theory. Although, I digress, the game was not nearly as bad as many thought it was going to be. But a year ago when DMC did hit, I was really surprised with how good the title was, improving on a lot of the things in the game that Devil May Cry did not offer before. And it was just a really good experience. My only gripe is that the main character isn't that fun-loving dude that we know from all these previous titles. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is that this comparison from the previous Devil May Cries and DMC has just been brutally blistered over the internet over the past many years, and DMC never really got much of a chance to shine, and the sales do also show that. But a lot of people still do miss the original Dante, and even the guys at Capcom have recently gone on record over the past year or so saying that Dante, that the original we know of, is not gone, that he will return in some regard and can make appearances in future games. However, what appearance this might be, we don't really know. Dante did show up in some recent Capcom mobile games, which was like a mashup of a whole bunch of Capcom characters. Overall, the big reason why I'm talking about this, and the big reason this is happening, is that Capcom has recently filed a trademark for Devil May Cry once again. We don't know anything beyond this. Literally the only thing that was trademarked was just the title, Devil May Cry. But it means that Capcom is paying attention. They're either renewing the license again, they're either rebuilding the DMC franchise and doing something new with it, or they're making a mobile game, which is pretty much the worst case scenario, and I seriously hope is not the case. Although the question does seem to be presented, if Devil May Cry is being rebooted, what would we like to see and what is most likely going to happen? Now, I do think that the Devil May Cry game, like I said, was really good. The one that was released by Ninja Theory fixed a lot of stuff, although the charm and a lot of the fun factor of some of the previous Devil May Cry games was lost because the main character wasn't nearly what we remember. I do think that Ninja Theory deserves another chance with Capcom, and I would like to see Capcom maybe pick up Ninja Theory as a developer because they've been doing a really freaking good job as far as being a third-party developer, but I would not like them to take Devil May Cry. I think Devil May Cry should return back to Capcom Japan de facto standard, being a huge high graphics, high fidelity type of action game that can really be appealing towards next generation hardware, seeing how freaking gorgeous the game is. I've mentioned it several times before, and in the previous news video we were talking about how Capcom is ditching the previous graphics engine, which was known as MT Framework, which in my opinion it makes some of the most beautiful looking games of the previous generation, even by today's standards, and Devil May Cry 4 was one of them, and it's just freaking gorgeous. And just imagine if the game actually combined the elements of Nero, which I didn't mind that much of a character, Devil May Cry 4 Dante, as well as potentially bringing Virgil back into the mix somehow. That game could be freaking huge, albeit Devil May Cry 3 is technically the most quote-unquote popular of the original Devil May Cry series. Resurrecting these characters, I think, is a good call. Although DMC did do this, it brought back Virgil, it brought back elements that we know about the Devil May Cry franchise, but just rebooted the hell out of it, and it was a lot different. Like I said, Ninja Theory I think deserves a chance to shine as a company, either with an individual IP under Capcom or something taking over something different. We all know Bionic Commando is not coming back anytime soon, but I would like to see Dante return to his mainstay. The reason I think this might happen is that Devil May Cry, or DMC, did not sell nearly as much as Capcom wanted to, albeit a lot of these Japanese publishers nowadays are having ridiculously high expectations of all of these third-party games, or the majority of their titles. It's kind of happening everywhere left and right now, but Devil May Cry did not sell that bad. It did pretty good, and it didn't do nearly as bad and perform as bad as people were anticipating that it was going to do. So, all things considered, Capcom does look at sales numbers. That stuff is really important to a company like that. And if the game did not meet the sales expectations with the rebooted franchise, and they were thinking that this was going to take Devil May Cry in crazy new directions, then I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon with Ninja Theory taking over DMC, although this is just a prediction. The funny thing and the weird awkward history about Devil May Cry games is the fact that they were consistently getting more and more and more popular. Granted, Devil May Cry 2 was the exception to the fact, and the game was pretty much garbage, but Devil May Cry 3 and 4 were growing in popularity over the first game and selling better than the previous one before. DMC4 was very successful, like ridiculously successful if we want to talk about sales standards. Although it had some issues as far as its gameplay and design, but the combat system in that game is freaking amazing. The biggest problem of it, and we've talked about this before and you guys have probably seen the playthroughs on your video games, Devil May Cry 4 is like half a game because you play the game almost identically over again as a different character. Albeit, even with those problems, the game was huge. It was successful, everyone knew about the Devil May Cry series, and everyone expected it to go forward, and it just didn't. And now that it hasn't, Capcom might be making future strides to bring potentially old Dante back, and I only hope this is the case. We will see, though, and the next time I get a chance to speak with some of the Capcom USA guys, I'll definitely grill them about what's the future of Dante. Is there anything potential that we can be seeing in the future of the classic Dante? Because it seems like the guys in Japan and people that are talking about, you know, which one we might see in the future have addressed that, yes, classic beloved Dante is not gone and we can potentially see him, and I got a pretty good hunch that sometime maybe at E3 this year we could see a new Devil May Cry game with our Dante that we all want to see once again. My name is Maximilian, thank you dudes very much, and what do you think about this? Do you think that Ninja Theory deserves another chance with the Devil May Cry saga, as well as producing another DMC-style game, or would you like to see Devil May Cry return to its Japanese grassroots over at Capcom Japan, also bringing back the classic Dante character? My name is Maximilian, thank you all very much for watching, and if you want another fix of Dante right now and immediately, check out Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Assist Me, where we recently covered Dante, going over all of his moves and a little bit of his lore. Take care, folks, and I will see you next time.
Adios, kid.